Here he is, the great Cal Ellenor.
How you
How's
doing,
things,
mate? You
bro?
alright? Good, mate,
Oh,
good.
thriving. I was doing okay, and then I started talking to you, and now I'm doing great. Um,
Good, man.
I want to start off. I was just watching. One of my friends just sent me this because they were looking at my Insta. They were sending me the video where it was in New York at the press conference, and James runs over to you in the middle of one of his interviews. What happened there? What was the story with that?
As far honestly, I didn't even realize that he was running at me until I turned around and he was getting carried away by MJ. But I think, well, what I've under the impression was someone I've seen it in comments that people were saying that apparently I was talking to his girlfriend or something. But basically, what happened
Right.
was I was on my way out of the venue anyway. I
Hmm.
just done my last interview, so they were like, "Oh, you can go if you want." So I was leaving, and Victoria Gracie was sat at the side, and she said, "Oh, you're done for the day now." And I turned around, and I think who she was with James's girlfriend. So if that's why he ran
Right.
over, maybe he thought I was talking to her or something like that. I don't know, but I wasn't. I didn't even know he was run over. Like everyone else had turned around, and I turned around, as you can see on the video, and I was like, "What?" I didn't even realize he was running. I was like, "What you doing?" You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Because I had seen, yeah, the whole like Irish contingent was posted up in that corner behind where I think Peter was standing at a Bellator Dublin sign and he was doing his interviews, and all the like Irish contingent, so like Pedro Carvalho was there and all the rest of it, and it actually interrupted my interview, so I'm not too happy with you at the moment, but no, but it was a mad scene, alright. That was a pretty crazy day. How did you find your first experience in the States?
It was cool. I mean, I've been to America a few times, but it was obviously it was my first time MMA related, so it was pretty sweet. I enjoyed it. I just wish that I could have like took a coach out or went out. I went out by myself, so
Hmm.
obviously I had to deal with all that stuff by myself the whole time. So it was a bit of a nightmare in that sense. But it's not the first time I've done it. I've done the Bellator press conference in Dublin by myself as well. So it's becoming the normal now. You know what I mean? Just get it done.
I mean, you've like obviously you're as much as any of the rest of us who are in this chat. You're a fan of MMA, and
Mm-hmm.
these are big. These are big like sort of things in the UFC. They're huge. These press conferences where they have like all the champions and all the rest of it. They have these big summer press conferences. What was it like for you to be on the stage during one of those?
You know, it was cool. The whole experience was sound. I didn't really. Obviously, it was cool to be there anyway. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna act like it wasn't. But the main thing for me was when I was walking to there's my mate Jonas. My God, just can't. He's the boy. You should check him out. He's a beast. But the main thing was I was cool about the whole thing. I was looking forward to it, excited to it, and until I seen Fedor. And then when I seen Fedor was there, and
Right.
I was walking at the hotel, and I had to walk around the room, I was like, it's pretty sick actually, to be honest. And then that's when I started like obviously Lima was there and people like that, so it was cool. You know what I mean? I got to talk to some people who I've been a fan of for a long time anyway. So in that respect, it was awesome. I enjoyed it. Like,
Did you get to actually talk to Fedor, or can you talk to Fedor? Because he does like I assume he doesn't walk around with a translator.
no, I'm sure his manager was actually there. I think his
Oh
manager's
right,
called
yeah.
Jerry, and he's like American, so he was there. And he was funny, but I was funny. Like I didn't really talk to him, but I watched him trip over a chair when he had a plate full of food, and it was the comedy gold. Like I was on one laughing, I was sat there absolutely pissing myself. It was unbelievable. Like, but it was a cool experience. Like I'm not going to say it wasn't. I really enjoyed it. Like.
Do you feel like you got to sort of get your message out there? I mean, I was saying this to someone the other day. I've never seen in the history of MMA a fighter who's sort of on the fringes. Like people aren't really sure about him. They get scheduled to fight someone who's a big star like James, and they become more famous through not fighting for a year and a half. I've never seen that happen.
There's been a few people said that. I don't know why that is. Maybe they're just excited and want to actually see somebody who's game to get in and have a go with James. You know what I mean? I believe I can beat him numerous different ways, and I'm not scared to say that either. So maybe that's what's attracting more people to it. I don't know, but it has been cool, and hopefully the fight does happen. You know what I mean? It's a fight that needs to happen now. It's been built up that long. It's got to happen.
As far as I'm concerned, people are comparing it to this Khabib and Tony, but there have been way more Khabib pullouts than Tony ones. We're dead even here. You pulled out of one, James pulled out of one, and then something that totally was out of both of your hands cancelled the third one. I think we've got this great rivalry fight here, and I think it does need to happen. I know James has said he's not too keen on it. What are your thoughts on your next steps?
You know what? Like a few months back, I was obviously when the fights were meant to be happening, that all I wanted to do was fight James. Now I didn't have anybody else in mind. I feel like the fight needs to happen, and if it doesn't, if James wants to fight somebody else next, that's cool. You know what I mean? He can fight whoever. I'm not really bothered who I fight. It's been over a year since I fought now, since I fought Nathan Grace in February last year. So fighting James would be amazing. It's a fight that definitely will happen somewhere down the road regardless. But if it doesn't happen next, if he wants to fight someone else or I end up getting matched with someone else next, I'm not really bothered because I do think that fight will happen eventually anyway. So just see what happens, you know. I mean, I've seen a lot of talk about potentially Bellator Bantamweight Grand Prix. And I feel like if that was what was happening, I feel me and James would be a great first fight in the whole tournament, you know. So if that's what goes ahead, who's just tuned in there, Energized Show, was somebody who was tweeting about it. So Bellator Grand Prix, that would be an awesome time to fight, and if I could get James first round, and that would be even sweeter. So hopefully that's what comes off.
I think that's the perfect way to decide who gets this title. I think a Grand Prix makes the most sense. Have I lost you there?
No, I'm still here, man.
Oh, no, you're back. Okay. Yeah, I think the Grand Prix makes the most sense because we've got a division where there isn't a champion. We've got all these contenders. Mm-hmm. Things have all just stopped. I mean, the featherweight Grand Prix, and even before that, there was the 171. The champion is in there. And the featherweight one is terrible because you've got a lightweight champion now locked up for possibly the better half of a year and a half. This is perfect for me. Bantamweight, get no champions, I guess if Pitbull really wants to be in it, he can. But I think we get Bantamweight Grand Prix. We start it with you and James, and we go from there.
That sounds good to me, mate. I'm well up for that, and it's another one that it's like if you see Bellator, you get your fights, whatever. But if you're winning, you're gonna have more active fights as well, and it's the chance to fight without a doubt the best people in the world. You know what I mean? Straight away, especially in Bellator's ranking. So why not? You know what I mean? And I feel like bantamweight now is probably, in my opinion, the most exciting division. Especially look at the rankings in Bellator. They've got some killers. You know what I mean? It's the top 10's all beasts. So why not just chuck them all in the tournament and let everyone fight and find out who's the best? I mean, you've got Patrick Nix, who's undefeated, Leandro Higo, people like that. You know what I mean? Some good tough kids. You know what I mean? And I'd fight every one of them. So I'm game that whoever they put us with, I'll fight. So hopefully it comes off.
A fight I'd love to see, I don't know about you, I'd love to see Leandro Higo versus Ricky Bandejas. I think that'd be an absolute war.
I mean, I thought about that earlier. You know, I seen a tweet mentioning the 16-man Grand Prix and seeing all the different names, and I thought that myself as well. I think that's a stylistic good fight. Ricky's good coming forward. I feel like he's definitely good on the back foot. He's dangerous, you know, he can knock you out, but I feel like he's worse on the back foot, and I feel like Leandro's a good aggressive fighter, so it'll be a good fight to see what happens there. Good stylistic fight there. I definitely like to watch that one. I feel like also Josh Hill, that same people talking about him. I've watched a lot of his stuff. He looks like a tough guy as well, and he'd obviously been it. 19-3, I think his record is. So there's some definitely big names that could be in it. You know what I mean?
Who else would you like? I just saw Paulie right in there in the chat. Who else would you like to fight in the bantamweight division? Give us some names.
Who I'd like to fight? People who pose threats to my kind of game. You know, I feel like fights before where I've lost, I've been ground out, and that's the kind of fight I want to test myself against. You know, people who are gonna have a dogfight, whereas I don't want to. You know what I mean? I just want to be as daft as it sounds. I like being in a tough fight and being in the trenches of it, and I feel like kind of like any of them, like Ricky Bandejas will be a tough one. You know, I'd maybe that one. I'd love to fight him. I actually like watching his fights. I'm not just scared to say that, you know what I mean? He's a good fighter. He's a good test. I feel like I'd like to fight him. But any of the top ones, you know, I'm trying to think. Leandro Higo, he's a beast. I would definitely love to fight him, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I saw someone talking about Koyuchi. Is it Horiguchi? But I think he's left now, gone back to Horizon. Is that right? But he would be another one who would have been awesome to be in the mix, you know? So we'll see. Sergio Pettis, another one. I've just seen in the comments.
Yep. There we go.
5. Sergio Pettis. That's a fight I would. That's the fight I would love to have. Definitely. Why not? If not James, and that would be one to definitely make me mark as well. You know, if I didn't get this fight and I fought that and then fought Sergio and beat him, then who could argue about my legitimacy as a fighter? You know what I mean? I feel like he's been in there with everyone. You know, he's fought some absolute killers. So he's definitely someone who I would like to fight as well. So
I see Energized Show in the chat there. Those lads, they did come up with the Grand Prix idea. That was they're claiming their credit on Twitter, and I'll give it to them. Go listen to Energized Show after you've watched this live stream, anyone. But yeah, when's the last time you talked to, like, someone from Bellator talked to you about sort of your situation?
My manager is basically speaking to them on my behalf and telling me what's what. But he basically said that just take over, get yourself fit, get yourself like in a position where you just quickly get a fight, you know what I mean? And says basically look around September time. If anything earlier comes, awesome. If it's later, it is what it is, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna chip away and do what I can. As I say, like at the minute it's a nightmare. Can't train. There's no gym, so I'm just doing my own stuff. I don't know if you've seen my stories. It's like some rocky exercises or something, you know, sit up on trees and shit. But it's terrible. It's better than now, you know. Energized Show there, legend, nice one. The Tash, I look like an absolute pedo, but it's a nomination, so I'll just have to leave it on.
But I think the Tash suits you, to be honest. I think you should keep it. Have you been struggling to keep the hair in check? I know you're wearing a hat just like me.
Nah, it's shaven down. I don't even know if it was. I don't know if it was an actual razor or a razor for the dogs or what. But Hannah, like my girlfriend's brother, shaved it all off for a razor the other day, so I was lucky to have that there. Normally, SB Barbers, my mate Rise, normally on it all the time and keeps us in check there. But obviously, I kind of get a haircut, so he's out of the job for us. Like.
I know the British Boxing Board of Control have said that their goal is for boxing to be back sort of in June, at least in sort of like studio shows. I think Eddie Hearn has been talking about those. Is that kind of do you think that there's a chance that Bellator are going to aim to sort of get fights in by sort of the summertime, or do you think they're going to wait for the end of September or the end of whenever these lockdowns happen?
I'm not sure, really. I mean, it all depends on when people can train again, because it's ideal, like obviously seeing like you could fight, because I don't really care about crowds or not. If anything, to be perfectly honest, it would be easier fighting without a crowd. Yeah, it's not as hot in the venue for one. That's a massive factor. I don't know, but it's just obviously the grappling aspect. I feel like if it's no disrespect to boxing, obviously I love boxing. I come from boxing background myself. I just feel like it would be easier in these circumstances to train for a boxing fight than what it would be to train for an MMA fight, because there's so many different aspects. Obviously, you're grappling and you're wrestling primarily, you know, like if you're not getting them rounds. I mean, you can shadow box, you can like you do a bag workout, whatever, you know what I mean. But if you're not getting grappling for your fight camp, I feel like it's a massive factor in your fight. So I feel like it's a lot harder for MMA shows to go ahead. So I feel like what they'll do is maybe wait till the lockdown's finished and give everyone at least a few weeks to kind of do partially a camp and then say what's what.
Well, let's say the lockdown ended tomorrow and everyone was allowed out and everyone was allowed whatever. How long would it take you to be ready to accept a fight from Bellator?
If it went tomorrow, I'd probably say 6 weeks.
Right.
Simply for the fact that obviously it's just the last few weeks I haven't grappled at all. I'm quite fit, actually, as I shouldn't have, but I went and sparred yesterday. Sneakily.
Oh.
There was just me and my pal met up in a field and just had a scrap. Well, there was two people, but we had a little do in the field with some gloves on. It was awesome, to be honest. I loved every second of it, and it's might as well a training even more. But I don't know. I'd say probably 6 weeks. More so for me. Obviously, you've seen me frame and stuff like that. I feel like for bantamweight fight, I need a little bit of time just to diet and really slim down, ready for the weight cut. You know what I mean? That last week, I usually cut quite a bit, so I feel like to take it short, I'd have to cut even more. And I didn't want to. I've hindered me performance before, and I felt what it feels like fighting drained, and I got absolutely smashed. I went the distance, but it was a fight that I definitely had abilities and options to win the fight as well, and I just couldn't pull the trigger on anything. I felt absolutely spent. So like since then I learnt my lesson, so now I would make sure that I was always in prime position the week before for the weight cut. So I'd say 6 weeks. If it was the lockdown was to finish tomorrow, I'd say 6 weeks.
I see Lee Hamilton Cooper in the chat. I know he's like the greatest photographer. He gives all the shots at the Bellator fight, so I want to give him a little shout out. But
he's a beast. He's a legend.
It's interesting you talk about the weight cut. Is featherweight somewhere you would like to fight in Bellator? Obviously, there's some great fighters in there at the moment too.
You know what it is? Like, I'd never say never. I've fought a featherweight before. I've had some fun fights there, and I've had some amazing scraps in the gym when I've been fighting at featherweight. I've spawned featherweights. But I just feel like for me, for my style as well, I feel like when I do it right, bantamweight's the weight where I'm optimal. I feel like that's where I'm at my best. I feel like that's where I've got my best chance for my style and my body shape to make it as well. Like, I feel like featherweights, a lot of the bigger ones anyway, I feel like when I spar, it's not so bad when I'm striking. I feel like I can hold me on striking with anyone, but if I get a big featherweight when I'm close to me weight cut for bantamweight and they're naturally thicker set than me, it's more so the pressure. I feel like it's a lot of my stuff works when I'm with people my weight, but if it was in a fight and someone had rehydrated a fair bit bigger than us, I feel like it's a nightmare. I just feel like there's some absolutely huge featherweights, and I feel like I make bantamweight when I do it right. When the last few times, all 3 times with James, my weight's been perfect just till the fights got pulled. So, and then the fight when I fought Nathan Grayson, Dane Kirk was on there, and he's helped us out massively. So from now onwards, I've been sweet. It's just I don't really feel like my size and build when I'm fit in camp, I'm not a featherweight. You know what I mean? So for me, optimal is bantamweight, definitely.
What exactly, can you explain to me, because I'm not sure we've actually talked about this, what exactly was the issue in September? What happened?
But in September, an absolute nightmare, mate. It was, you know, it's one of them things that just shouldn't have happened. There should have been, I just wish if MMA hadn't got in touch with me at all and just let it run its course or whatever. But basically what was happening was I'd only ever done 1 brain scan in my life, and that was when I was 17. Was it 17? When did I first fight in AFC? No, sorry. Whenever I fought in AFC, whenever that was.
Right.
When I fought in AFC, I did my first brain scan with them. And then basically, I never did a brain scan for ages after. And then I signed to Bellator. And when I fought Nathan Grayson, they asked us for another brain scan. So I basically requested my brain scan off AFC, right? I got the brain scan report from that, sent that to Bellator. Bellator got that and said, look, it's in date, it's fine. You can fight. You don't need to go and spend 700 quid or whatever it is on your brain scan.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I saved that money. I was skint at the time as well. Fought. Everything was fine. Nothing at all wrong. Kept training through. The fight got matched with James. Camp started. We got matched up, I think it was in like the June or July. So they had all this time to send us to get a scan and just didn't until right near the fight and told us, oh, look, you need to get another scan. Your other scan's still in date, but you need to get a scan because every time you fight in Ireland, apparently there's some
I think Safe MMA are in charge there. I'm not 100% sure, but
or anywhere else apparently. So they were like, every time you fight in Ireland, you need a regular, like a scan. So I went, got the scan, and this was quite near the fight at this time. And then it was about a week or something after I did the scan, I got a phone call saying, you need to get a neurologist appointment. Basically, there's something come up in your scan, and this has happened to someone who I know before. So I was like, oh, it'll be nothing. It'll just be whatever. I might have moved on the thing and put a mark on it or something. I don't know. So I was like, I was like, I don't know. I'm from Sunderland, mate. I don't know about you, but I don't know one neurologist. So I was like, well, left me with it.
I don't know too many either.
Didn't have a manager or anything. So I was like, shit. I didn't even have, I was skint at the time as well, to be honest. So I was like, what am I meant to do here? So I was like, right, well, I spoke to Wad. He put us in touch with a guy in London who's like, apparently worked with a few fighters before. I think he helped Nathaniel Wood when he had issues with his brain scan before, and he managed to still fight. So I was like, right, this is the guy to see. So I used Bellator to take the money, to be fair. I didn't have the money, so I was just spending their money. A bit is in the arse. Like, obviously, I charged for it, but it was all I had to do to try and keep the fight alive. So I spent Bellator to take the money. Got a train the next day to London. Spent the money, booked a private appointment with this neurologist, and went in, and he said, like, how many scans have you done before? And I said, and then he asked for the report. So I give him the report. He got the report, and then he basically straight away just started hitting us with this pure darkness, just absolutely killed me dream. How basically I shouldn't even spar anymore, that he thinks it's absolutely mental that I've still been training. And then he says, oh, do you regularly pass out? And I was like, I never passed out in my life. He's like, have you been knocked out? I was like, no, I've never even been put down off a shot yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which would. And I was like, really surprised. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh no. He's like, basically seeing that my brain scan results were the same as if I just had a car crash. Seeing that
Jesus Christ.
that basically listed all these different complications that would
God knows what it would have been like after James hit you.
potentially seeing all this different brain stuff that was going to happen in the future if I kept training and stuff. And then obviously it was just an absolute nightmare. So I was like, well, what? I was like, can I pay you just to get you to sign the thing? I was like, look, basically said, I was like, they disrespect, but this is what I said. I was like, look, the guy I'm fighting next is pretty much a grappler. He's not really going to punch you anyway. I was like, is there no way you can just let this fight out? And I was like, my camp's done. My camp's pretty much finished. I'm not going to take any more shots this camp. Can I not just have the fight and then we'll talk about retirement and all this? And he was like, honestly, he was saying I wouldn't even train. He was saying if you can find any ways to do any kind of exercise you want, but I wouldn't train and I would never chance taking shots to the head again. So I was like,
Jesus.
I left there. Spoke to a few different people on the phone, and then I come home, and then my nutritionist was saying, like, obviously, with all that knowledge, like, there's no way he was going to help us cut weight, and, like, he was saying, obviously, he would help us, but he's saying, like, basically, the risks of dehydrating your brain after all that. So I was like,
yeah,
oh, I've got kids and shit like that, you know what I mean? Like, what? And then, obviously, I was speaking to Bellator. They didn't really know what was going on, and then I was speaking to CFMMA. They were telling us all this different stuff, and they were saying, "Oh, your fight's not going to happen. Your fight's going to happen. Your fight's." I was like, "I'm cutting weight here. Like, I need to know what's happening." It was like it got to about 9 days out, and they were still telling us it wasn't going to happen. It might happen, and I was like, "Well, what else am I to do here?" Like, obviously, James didn't even. He might have knew. I don't know, but he potentially still thinking that he's fighting me, and I'm like, "Well, this fight's not going ahead. It's not fair on him, obviously." Now I wouldn't have the same kind of thing for him, but at the time,
sure.
like, he's a fighter, you know, like what he's got to know, you know what I mean? I was like, it's not fair on him. They've got to pull me out, and he doesn't even know. And they're going to leave it the last minute. Was what I was thinking at the time. They're going to leave it the last minute, and he might not end up fighting. You know what I mean? But it was like, it was mad because the whole time, all that I could get from EFC was a scan report. So the report was basically, it's got a checklist that everything needs to be checked on. So it's like, is there any signs of this, and this? Is there any gaps anywhere? All this mad stuff, different scientific. So on the report, all it said was, no, it was like, it's if you get like when you sign and do anything, it was just like, none, all the way down. So it was like, oh, like it's sound. Literally, on the report that I got from when I went to see the neurologist about the assessment, he basically said, if you could get the disc from the scan, that would be the only chance I would ever have of fighting again. If that was basically not corresponding to what the report said, but he said there's no way that a neurologist will get this wrong. He says these are signs that they're looking for day in, day out. He said there's no way that they could get. Because basically what they said that I had a gap in the frontal part of my brain that apparently what a really small percent of people have, and then they usually lose it by the time they're an adult, but apparently mine's still there, and apparently I've got some black spots of damage on the right side of my brain or something. So right. where this says none, all this report, we ended up eventually getting the report from South Africa. We ended up getting the disc from South Africa eventually after however long of trying. They sent the disc on an encryption file to me, and then I forwarded that to CFMMA, and CFMMA went through it, and they basically said was, although you were told by a neurologist that they wouldn't be wrong on a assessment, basically what they've done is they've put none in all these different boxes on your scans, but realistically, all this stuff was already there. You've been fighting for 5 years, was it 4 or 5 years professionally, the whole time since I did that first scan, and I've had not one bit of change. So what they were saying was, my scan when I was meant to fight James the first time, and my scan from South Africa were identical. So all the stuff that they had said none to, there was stuff there, but they just didn't announce it in South Africa. Maybe whether it was to just clear us to fight there and then.
Right, yeah. They kind of needed the fight to happen.
But I think that's why we had such an issue getting the scans, because every time we tried, it was just a closed door. We just couldn't get this disc with these encrypted files on for some reason, and then Alistair Bishop, who lives in South Africa, got us them.
Christ almighty, this is a lot of effort for one MMA fight.
You know what I mean? That's what I mean. It was just like, I would have just rather have not known. I mean, years ago, I don't know what the the crack will be now, but years ago, Colin Fletcher from Safe MMA were ringing him and basically said, "Oh, you've got issues, blah blah blah," and he just ignored it and fought. You know what I mean? So if I'd have known that at the time, I would have just done the same thing. But I did not. I just thought, right, well, whatever. You know what I mean? But now it's cool. You know what I mean? I'm with Black Panther Sports now, and they're looking after all that for us. You know what I mean? They sort us out, so I'll not have any issues in the future. And so, I would fight with brain damage. You know what I mean? It's not that. So
I wouldn't recommend
really
that.
Not my part. You know what I mean? It's just you get told one thing, and then. But apparently you can be born with these black spots. I've just seen PR Funk 95
right. Okay.
in there. Apparently, don't get us wrong. If my brain did have damage on, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, I've boxed since I was 12. You know what I mean? And I've had 40 fights now altogether. I've not.
If you have 40 fights, I'd be surprised if you didn't have some sort of break.
Exactly, that's what I mean. You know what I mean? So I've had some scraps in the gym as well. So, but I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of them things. It was just an absolute nightmare situation that happened at a horrible time. If it had happened months out from the fight, they could have definitely got something done. But it was the fact that it all came on top, like pretty much a week and a half out from the fight, which was just an absolute nightmare. And just a hard situation to get through, but then obviously come out on top and then ready to fight again. And then obviously James got injured, and then obviously this time it's COVID-19.
Oh my God, man.
Hopefully we can put the nail in the coffin this year and get it done, you know what I mean? So,
how long did you think that your MMA career was over?
I think it was probably about 5 or 6 days.
Right.
After I went to London, came home, spoke to Jude Samuel, spoke to Bellator America, and got it all sorted and everything was super cool. You know what I mean? They were sweet about everything. To be honest, Bellator has been absolutely amazing. They've tried so good the whole time. I'm lucky to be with them. You know what I mean? And that was it. And left it, and then I was kind of just doing my own shit. You know what I mean? I was in a horrible place anyway, a horrible mind space anyway. My mum was. So all that happened, and then the day I was meant to fight James, because my mum had been in intensive care for weeks leading up to this fight as well. I lost my gran at the start of the camp. Then the couple of weeks out from fighting, when I was meant to fight James originally, my mum went into intensive care. The day of the fight was meant to happen when I was in Dublin. She went into a coma, and then it was like a week or something after she died. So it was just like the worst time for everything to hit us. Horrible time, you know what I mean? So that's why I was so buzzing when the fight got re-announced that quick, that I would fight James again straight away back in Dublin. I was over the moon because it meant like I had something to put my attention to, you know what I mean, rather than sitting moping and stuff like that. So as soon as I set out to fight again and everything was cool, I was like, right, that's all I needed, just that little bit of something to focus on, you know what I mean? And fortunately that was a fight, and obviously it takes over your mind anyway, so I was buzzing, and that's helped us the whole time. And as mad as it is, mate, it's like that happened, and then obviously James ends up getting injured, whatever. They left it a while, and then this one. So that's all that's been the last few months. It's just been thinking about a fight. I've been constantly in camp, realistically, you know what I mean? So it's been cool. I haven't really had to.
Yeah, I was. I think I said it to you. Oh, I think our connection's dropped. Oh no, sorry, it isn't. But yeah, I think I said it to you in New York that I think most of the MMA media people, and I'm sure you and James as well, when it comes to doing interviews, are kind of sick of the X's and O's of talking about this fight. Because you've had to do it 3 fucking times.
It's a nightmare. I mean, it's cool being on talking to you, you know what I mean? I enjoy that you're diving. But in general, it's just, it is what it is. It's just like, it's the same stuff, you know what I mean? It's like everyone kind of is asked the questions now and kind of sees.
That's what I mean. Like, we have nothing else to ask you from the last time you were supposed to fight James or the time before, because you haven't fought since. Like, there's been nothing. It's like, oh, how are you going to beat James? We asked you that the first time. We already have it on file. We have the answers.
That's it. It's just, I just hope if it doesn't, it's gonna happen one day. You know what I mean? I'm not asked if it doesn't happen next. You know what I mean? I just want to fight, but it will be good for both of us just to get that fight done. You know, I know he's probably he probably wants to hit me just as much as I want to get in and have a fight with him. So we'll see, man. It's a fun fight, you know what I mean? It's a fun fight stylistically. I just want to hurry up and hopefully get it done and find out, you know what I mean? I believe what I can do, and I know what I can do, and I feel like that's a good winnable fight for me, especially in this division. I feel like where James is and where I am, I feel like I beat James, especially in a good way, you know what I mean? I feel like it'll open massive load of doors for me and give us the kind of fights that I want to have and open the doors and let us get the tests I want. You know what I mean? They've already said that. They said after London, they said you're fighting in America anyway. But now London's not happening, so maybe America's next anyway. You know, that's also a goal of mine. So I'm not really asked, mate. I just want to fight.
So obviously the February fight fell out. So you were willing to fight in Dublin again, but that whole Safe MMA thing, that didn't kind of make you kind of think, maybe I'll leave this fight. Maybe I'll just I won't fight in Ireland again.
Nah, you know it is, mate. Because the way I thought they kind of chaffed us twice. You know what I mean? There's no way they chaffed us twice. If they've then come out on record and said, look, like, this is what's gone on, we'll basically put it on file. What's happened? You know, like whatever. It's been an absolute fuck up, but like basically, this is what's gone on. It's shit for them because it wasn't like they've got to stick by rules. You know what I mean? They've set up this whole thing about being safe and stuff like that. So they can't then go and try and bend the rules and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They've got to then abide by what they're seeing.
Exactly, yeah.
If they're seeing someone not medically clear to fight, they're not going to then let somebody fight. So I understand that. So I wasn't bitter with them or anything like that. It was just shit that I was in the situation that close to a fight. I'd already done the hard work. You know what I mean? I killed myself that camp. I was in the best shape of my life. I felt amazing. Everything was good. I felt bulletproof and I was absolutely buzzing for it. I took a load of people over as well, like Nick Rippon there, one of the comments there. All the lads were coming, loads of people, and just a nightmare. So I was gutted, but I thought, like, obviously once they came out on record and said that it was like basically mess up and that I was clear to fight again, I was like, well, they can't. There's no way that they can now not let us fight. So I was just like, sign us up, and I wanted that, you know, like I've got I love Ireland. I've been plenty of times. We train in Ireland sometimes at Dara's at East Coast.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I've got like people. Not saying that I've got fans or nothing like that, but there's people in Ireland who message me all the time and support us and stuff like that. So
sure.
And I know he's got a massive fan base out there. And
I think SBG are divisive. So there's people who love SBG, and then there's people who kind of like want to see people like Peter or Conor or whoever like lose their fights as well. So I think
exactly
that's sort of where a lot of support will come from here.
100%, mate. And it's like I've been there before and seen it, and like I wanted to experience that atmosphere. I don't want to be sitting in the stalls like it was the first time when I watched a show. I want to be the person in there. You know what I mean? I hear. Honestly, it's only been the last year and a bit that I've actually went and watched MMA shows. You know, I used to when I first started, but then I like being the person doing the fighting rather than being
exactly.
You know what I mean? So it kind of. I wanted to experience that. I seen the first time when he beat Roman Salad Fingers or whatever he was called, and then so I just wanted to have that buzz of walking out there and soaking in that atmosphere, and especially with James saying that I would have crumbled under the pressure, and that was kind of more of a motivational tool for me to say, right, like let's do it there. You know, like I believe that the pressure would have been worse for him there. I feel like it would have been loads easier for him to have this fight in London with me. I didn't feel like the pressure would have been anywhere near as much than what it would have been at home, but it would have been cool regardless. And I hope, even if it's not James, I hope that one day I do get to fight on the Dublin card because I do love the city. I love being there.
Could you have fought in February? Was there any chance that they were going to let you fight there at all, or was it? Did they have London planned by then?
In February, see, that was the problem when I got a message first of somebody from a media outlet saying, is it true? Is James injured? So I was like, what the fuck? I was like, sat there, just trained, absolutely knackered. I was like, what's going on here? It was like 2 weeks out from the fight. I was like, nah, no way. I would have heard by now. And then 2 seconds later, I got a message saying, you free for a phone call? So I was like, oh, well, it was off Jude as well. So I was like, you free for a phone call? That only means one thing, you know what I mean? He's clearly injured or something's come up, you know what I mean? So
Jude's the kind of guy who only gives really, really good calls or really, really bad calls. I don't think you ever just call and have a chat with him.
It's never just to say how you did. That was it. So it was like instantly knew what was coming. And I got told at first, because his injury was apparently a bad back, but apparently he said, was it that he says, I cannot even remember the injury I had, but it wasn't a bad back. So I was like, right, whatever. So I was like, well, who else am I fighting? And it was like, well, we're not sure what's going to happen. I was like, oh, well, I'm happy to fight someone else, or I'll even stop cutting weight now and fight whatever. You know what I mean? I was still, obviously, as you know, like I was still heavier, so like it's a week out, 2 weeks out from the fight, so I could easily fought at a different weight or whatever. And it was like, look, James is injured now, but he's going to be all right for this date. Would you be happy to fight James at this date? We'll still look after you for this show. So it was like, they weren't going to give us a replacement, but they wanted us to fight James in London, and he was going to be fit for that date, which was maybe 10 weeks after or whatever it was. So I was like, whatever, you know what I mean, do whatever. I'm not in charge. I'll fight if I can fight, and if not, give us the closest fight that I can get, and the closest fight that I'll get was London with James. So I just said aye, and then that was it.
Jesus Christ. I think you should have turned that London fight down. Looking back on it now, you know, hindsight is 20/20 and all. But you should have said, no, I'd rather fight a featherweight in February.
I would have. There wasn't an option. It was just like, nah, you're not fighting. I was like, right, whatever.
I was watching your Instagram stories both in September and definitely in February as well, because obviously, like you said, a lot of people travelled anyway from Sunderland. So a lot of people were coming over. And I was watching then that show on Netflix, the Football to Sunderland Till I Die. And when they go to Wembley, I was thinking I would love this to happen in Dublin.
I was there when it went up. Mate, man, you should have seen the crowd I took. Mate, man, if you'd seen the squad that I brought to Dublin last time, man, it'll be even bigger next time. Honestly, mate, I took an army over, and it's just a fucking nightmare, mate, to be honest. Like, I took loads over. The Sunderland Till I Die, I filmed to be in this season 2. And
oh, really?
I was talking to Lydia the other day about it, and I filmed, but they're not using the stuff. I was
devastating.
Man, I'm glad they're not using it, mate. It was terrible.
They just showed all this boring boardroom stuff about ticket sales. I couldn't have cared less. I want to hear more about MMA fighters.
All right, sorry, I'll just get like, what's that question there? But
what's about the fighters stopping their weight cuts, is it? Fighting a weight class above on fight week. Would you do that? You just 100%. Said you would.
100%. If mate, that's a dream come true for me. It's fucking, that's like winning the lottery, mate. It's like, it's literally the best option. It's like fight at a weight where you're not drained of water, you're not tired or achy or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like literally,
so what Paulie means is like what Peter Queally and Brian Scope did at Bellator Dublin, where like I think like on the day of the weigh-in, they go. Or a couple of days, they go, fuck it, like, we're going to fight a lightweight, we just go up and fight a welterweight, not bother with the last bit of the weight cut.
I feel like that'd be class. That's good if you both check each other's weights at the time before. Right, because say for that fighting example, so see if Ryan had been 82 kilos at the time he'd said that or something, not that he would have been, I know. But if he'd have been had a massive weight cut, and Peter was more so, say, like, really trimmed down and like maybe like 75 before he cuts water. I know he wouldn't have been, he's a big lad, but I meant like speaking about any
something like that, generally it doesn't have to be Peter.
If you check the weights before you stop before you made that call, if you were both relatively, so say for that fight scheduled at 70.7 kilos, if they were both 77 kilos that night before, then I would say definitely that makes total sense, and you're going to get better fights as well. People are not going to be knackered from draining themselves of water or whatever, and a lot of people are still in the dark ages and have a shit method like I did when I fought in South Africa and fucking shit myself after the weigh-in and pretty much died in the fight. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I got a nutrition, got absolutely smashed. Like, just felt horrendous, the worst I've ever felt. I've never even had a gym session where I felt that bad and had to fight 25 minutes. Like, I fought 5 5s, you know what I mean? So you live and learn, didn't you?
Oh, someone's writing a nice message about how they met you at Bellator Dublin. They said you were a sound guy. You can read these, I'm sure. I don't have to read them to you like you really do have a brain injury. But but he says he followed him. Yeah.
He's a good man, Shane. Nice one, mate. Appreciate it.
Tell me more about shitting yourself after the weigh-in. That sounds pretty crazy.
Oh, mate. Mate. So basically, this hasn't happened to just me before. This has happened to me a couple of times. This happened to me a couple of times, but it's apparently when you put too much salt, when you're rehydrating. Apparently, it's got a lot to do with the salt in there. See, the method we just trial and error. You know what I mean? That's the thing that people don't realise. They think you see somebody fighting they think that's a finished product, but you've got to think the weight cut. There's so many different things come into it, and we were just literally just winging it. I would kill myself cutting weight. The one fight that I was talking about there was when we went out when there was a water shortage, and they were saying that there was no baths or no saunas. You had to come out on weight, and I was like, I'm fighting a world title fight in AFC, 5-minute rounds, and you're telling me I have to make bantamweight. I have to make bantamweight without a sauna or without a shower, without what's it called? Fucking hell, like a hot bath or a sauna. And I was like, it's physically impossible. I'm 6 foot. You're seeing what I'm like anyway. There's no way on earth I can make this weight. And I tried. Killed myself. Absolutely killed myself. Worked as much as I could off the night before. I killed myself all week, to be honest. The night before, me and Fisher did pads. I shadowboxed all with the sweatsuit on. I did loads of bike, loads of running, loads of stair walker, everything you could think of, skipping, the works. Woke up, still had 300 kilos to go. Had to get in some crazy guy's Uber who was like the worst person I could. I ended up arguing with him. Literally wanted to knock him. By the end of the journey, I was like fuming, shouting at him, and that was the worst. He was just an absolute nightmare when I was severely dehydrated anyway. Then drove us miles away to like the middle of nowhere so I could use Tyrone. He was sponsoring us actually. And he said, oh mate, like, look, I live wherever it was, but you can come and use my bath. So I was like, fucking yes, we've got this last 300 kilos. So we drove, got lost, eventually found this guy's, Tyrone's house, got in the bath, and I was lying there and I was like looking at Fisher and I was like, this bath's not hot, mate. And he was like,
oh,
no, it's warm enough. And I was like, mate, normally I'm in hell here. And this is like, I could stay in here all day.
Yeah. It's like a jacuzzi. It's like a sauna.
When you know it's not hot enough, you know it's not hot enough. So I was like, he was like, we'll try one and then we'll see what your weight's like when you get out. So I did one. The bath just made us even thirstier than what I already was. I was already in hell. I got out, got on the scales. My weight was exactly the same. So I was like, fuck. I'd already, by this time, I think the weigh-in was in like 10 minutes. I was like, fuck, we're going to miss the weigh-in. Not the kettle, but the kettle was from like the fucking 1920s or something. It was like this massive fucking kettle that just wouldn't heat up. It was like, fuck, it's my neighbour there. Somewhere, like, just rumbling for ages. Every time I was like sitting there, I was like this. Pours the water in. It was like hot, like not even hot enough to cook with, but like warm for about a minute, and then it was just back to the normal temperature. So we had the kettles on. So then we just sat there, boiled the kettle, get the bath as hot as we could. Got in, then it eventually started to come down. Got in the car, went to the venue. He wouldn't drive in the compound because I was fighting in this like a fucking circus or whatever it was in the middle of a desert. Just like gets there and he wouldn't drive into the compound because it was going to cost him like 50 pence, but I didn't have any money at all and he was refusing to get in. So I was like screaming at him, and then Fisher's in the back like, calm down, it's all right. And I was like screaming, I was like, fucking drive in, I'm dying, I haven't had water for fucking hours, I'm fucked. And then we eventually get out, we're like run through, I get to the scales, and I jumps on, and I was 60, bearing in mind I've seen people bump these as well like that, I was 61.2 something, and it was like literally nothing. It was like a fucking grain of sand. And they were like, you're gonna have to get the towel. I was like, fuck the towel. I was like, I've got no time for the towel, I'm absolutely spent. So I took my pants off. The fucking camera flashes, the towel just stood there with me like invert like micro penis that's trying to like stick up the side of it because I was so drained of water, just like absolutely like just like fucking hidden shriveled fucking peenie off where I've cut so much weight, just dying. And then I get on the scales and there's like people taking photos, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not even fucking arse. I was just stood there. Eventually tries to, mate, I'll send you this photo, I'll send you the photo, you'll kiss yourself, I'll send you, I put it on Instagram. Please don't, you'll get banned. No, I did. They took it off. I was devastated. I'll show you, but basically did that. Got the say right, 61.2, bang on, whatever. I leave there. I start doing my normal method, what I was normally do, whatever salt. I was drinking all this water and all this shit, and then just fucking shit myself, just like horrendously, just water. But it was just like, fuck you, man, you know what I mean? Just the same situation as when Fisher fought Abdul Muhammad. Exact same thing happened. He had some like little Japanese flag on the back of his joggers. It was just a nightmare, man. You know what I mean?
I can't think of a worse day that anyone could ever have. I think you have to do this crazy weight cut. Your Mickey shrivels up in front of everyone. You crap yourself after the weigh-in, and you're in South Africa. I can't think of anything worse than those 4 things.
It gets worse, mate. I think it
Oh, no.
I think it absolutely slammed through the canvas for 25 minutes in the hottest room ever. I remember finishing that fight thinking like, mate, I had carpet burns on my arse, man. That's how bad it was. I had carpet burns on my arse, man. I looked like some fucking sea monster after I had blue lips, scar hair under my eye, like fucking horrendous, mate. Horrendous. Worse. But you know what? Although the fight week was horrible and the fight was an absolute nightmare, and it kind of like, I learned so much from the fight and I gained so much from it and I enjoyed it so much. And I thought, I'm cool with the guy and I'm really sound with his coach as well. Like, so that to have that as a part of my career was awesome. You know what I mean? I'm going to go do a seminar in their gym in South Africa whenever I can get out there.
Right.
But I gained so much from it. And you know what? Me and Fisher had the funniest time ever in South Africa. I don't know if you've seen the video of us when we're flying about on the mopeds dressed like African kings with the whole get-up on. The funniest time ever. It was amazing. So absolutely buzzing that it happened. And if I hadn't had that fight and felt the way I did, I wouldn't have got a nutritionist on board and I would have still been fighting the same. And if I had fought Nathan Grayson the way that I did my weight cut for when I fought Lutando Biko, I would have 100% got chinned. So I wouldn't have been able to take the damage I did when I fought Grayson if I hadn't have did me weight cut properly and did me rehydration more importantly. Just playing Jared, just commenting on there. He's my pal from South Africa, legend. King 2020, nice one, brother. Thank you.
Is Nathan Grayson better than James Gallagher in your opinion? Is he a harder fight? Was he a harder fight for you than James would be?
You know what it is, mate? Like, I feel like Nathan Grayson's a hard fight for anybody because he's super explosive. A million miles an hour. So, you know, no matter what you do, you're going to take some bad shots in that. And he's super heavy-handed anyway. I feel like Nathan Grayson was a lot more dangerous. I feel like James is good. I'm not disregarding his skill level. He's a good fighter and he wouldn't, you know what I mean? He's definitely deserves to be where he is. He's got some really good skills. But I feel like for health-wise, Nathan Grayson's definitely a worse fight. I mean, Nathan Grayson could definitely shoot your lights out with one shot, you know what I mean? And
it's true.
You know, and stuff like that has a massive effect on your career. And I feel like fights like that are a big risk. And look what happens, you know? Like, obviously, he messed me up pretty bad, you know what I mean? Like, he gave me a big scar above my eye there, you know what I mean? He hit me with about 1,000,001 punches in about 10 seconds. So, but now that's the fight I need to get us motivated. You know, if it's not someone like that, I mean, I'm always hungry anyway when I've got to fight. I always train hard. I learned my lessons from a young age, fighting and not being fully ready. You know, I had my first fight when I was 12, fought through then, and there'd be times I was saying the other day, I got a phone call when I was in school once and I hadn't even been training. It's like, oh, do you want to fight tonight? I was like, 100%. I want to fight tonight. I mean, I'm sure I pretty much
why not?
bad for me dinner or something in school and ended up fighting heavier than what I was and just for the sake of having a fight, you know what I mean? And taking fights then and feeling what I felt from a young age then, not being fit and being in there. And it's a lonely place to be unfit. And so
yeah,
I'll never let that be a kind of thing that I'll always be fit now when I fight. But I feel like I need a dangerous opponent to make us put that extra work in, you know what I mean? To really make us kind of like apply myself fully. I mean, I'm a daydreamer. When I'm in the gym, I like having a laugh. I'll tap the piss out of someone, tap the piss out of me. I just like having fun, you know what I mean? But it's different when you've got a fight like that, when you've got a fight like Nathan Grayson and you know, like, look, if I'm missing about here, there's a chance that I will get me like shit out, like, and it's like, right, I watch him fight Sam Creasy, and Sam Creasy's someone who I definitely rate. I think Sam Creasy is a great fighter, and I watched him fight with him, and I think it was in the 4th or 5th round when he knocked him out, and it was a horrible finish as well. And so you could say that he's a tough fighter. I watched his fight with Arnold Allen, so I was like, right, like, this kid's good. Like, he's Cage Warriors champion. He's a champion for a reason, you know what I mean? So I knew I had to be switched on. And
thank God.
So,
Jesus Christ, I was just saying.
Man, you're the man. Andrew, you're the man. Cheers, bro.
Oh, Andrew Rahman, is he? Oh, yeah, he says you're the man. Yeah, you are the man. I agree with that. I agree with Raha. But yeah, I was saying last week when I had Richard Kiley on that, you know, because Terry Brazier joined in after because Richard was talking shit about him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yeah, and then Richard's phone died, and Terry joined the stream and replied, and I was saying like, this is live broadcasting. Now what we've just done is live broadcasting. All these great stories I had no idea about, like South Africa. But yeah, so I do want to ask about.
Just not my man.
I want to ask about how you are coping with everything that's happening at the moment. How you're training, how you're sort of keeping fit, and like you said, you were sparring in a field. Pretty badass.
Gypsy style.
Gypsy style, yeah. What's the film with Brad Pitt like that?
Mate, this is the one. You missed out on the treat, you know. When I was meant to be fighting James, when they do their public weigh-ins, my outfit's the best. Wife beater on, and I've got the hat from Snatch, mate. He's the man. I've got that, mate. 100%, and that spoiled me when I wasn't fighting. I was devastated. I was like, mate, that was the most thing I was looking forward to was the public weigh-in, so I could come out with that on. Good. But sorry, mate, what were you saying? So me training.
Yeah, how you're keeping fit besides the illegal sparring that I'm gonna have to call the British police about after this.
Basically, I've been running. I've been entered into a running competition with a few lads who I train with, and the winner gets a surfboard. And so I've been putting the miles in. I was supposed to run tonight.
What does someone in Sunderland need a surfboard for?
I live on the beach. The beach.
Yeah, but there's no weather for surfing, like.
There's not much waves. It's not like New Zealand or now, but not a lot further along. There's towards Whitby and stuff like Whitburn. I don't know which way it is, whatever. But there's a place where they do surfing and that there. I think they might get some waves there, but I would just have a surfboard just to see how I had a surfboard. Me, you know, why not?
That's true.
You never know when you might need it. So, but training wise, I've been running. I don't know if you saw, but I've got this sick tree that I've been doing loads of pull-ups and sit-ups on and different workouts on that. Been hitting the same tree every time. And just pretty much I've been riding my bike a fair bit. Jay Gomes there, legend. I've been hitting me bike a fair bit and getting out on that. But as I say, like I met two of the lads yesterday, and we had a little bust up in the forest. Well, just this little opening in the field where there was no one about, and just did some boxing rounds out on the uneven ground. It was amazing. Put us in the best mood ever. All day I felt class. I can't wait to do it again. Just sneak out. They've been quarantined so far, and it's like, right, like, if we don't do something, everyone else is going to get a step ahead, because I know there's still some people sneakily training, so it's killing me. So
I think Dana White needs to get a call about this and get this idea. I think Fight Island is gone. I think we need to have Fight Forest out by Cal's house. I think that's that's the place to be. What sort of protective equipment do you wear when you're sparring in the woods? This is crazy. I can't believe that you're doing this.
16-ounce gloves, and that was it. No gum shields, no tops on, just good old bust-ups.
I'll tell you, if the coronavirus wasn't afraid of that, I don't know what it would be afraid of, to be honest. Who was it you were training with? Was it another like pro fighter?
No, well, one of them's kind of, I don't want to say any names and get anyone in any shit or allowed.
Oh, of course, yeah, we can't, because the police are watching this now.
They both train. One of them. I can't really say because then you'll know exactly who it is. They're both train. I'll say that. They're both train.
It's the kind of people you would be sparring with normally, is what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you think that you'll fight again this year? Have they given you the impression that, because obviously we heard in Ireland today, our health minister was saying that there won't be concerts or live sporting events with crowds probably until next year, is what he was saying. So I would imagine the Dublin card is in jeopardy. Mm-hmm. They could do it with no attendance and whatever else. I don't know what they could do, but do you what's the impression that Bellator are giving you on when you're going to fight?
It seems kind of positive to me. I'm kind of under the impression that I'll definitely fight once at the end of the year at least. So I mean, if I would have a fight and be not as busted up and get straight back in, I'd love it. So we'll see, you know. But at least one fight this year would be amazing. You know what I mean? I'd hate to go 2020 and have not one fight, and I've had this much shit built up and trained that much for and not fought. Right, Stuart, mate, he's a top man. Cheers, Stu. But mate, so hopefully fight at the end of the year. I'd love that, you know what I mean?
And then 2021, try to get 4 in, probably, right? Try to get as many as possible.
I'd love it. I'd love 4 good fights next year. That would be amazing, you know what I mean? I want to sort myself out with some stuff, you know what I mean? I want to obviously I love fighting, and I didn't fight for money. I fight because I love it. You know what I mean? I'm fought on the other side of the world for fucking buttons. You know what I mean? Like I'm clearly not, but now is the position where I'm actually getting some good money. You know what I mean? So realistically, I would like to kind of put some work in and get some good fights in and get myself set up with something for later on after fighting. You know what I mean? We'll see what, you know what I mean? I've got a few different ideas, but getting the fights in will definitely push us forward and propel us to getting all that sorted. So that's kind of the motivation there, to be busier and definitely get fights in. After a long layoff, I'd like to be busy. You know what I mean? And if I did get the James fight and I beat James, if they didn't do this Bantamweight Grand Prix, I'm pretty sure I'd get a big name after that, and that would put us right in the contention if I got another win. You know what I mean? So
we were talking earlier about like you wanted to fight good names, but you didn't actually name anybody in particular. I know you said I think maybe Ricky Bandejas is the kind of fighter that would be good for yourself. But who, if there was one name, you've got the floor, you've got all these 8 people watching right now, we've got a huge audience. Who would you want to call out in the Bellator Bantamweight division?
You know what? I feel like Patrick Mix is a killer, and he's undefeated, and he's a horrible fight for anyone, really. He's a nightmare. He's a great fighter.
I think you're the first and last person to ever call him out.
I would 100% fight him if I had the chance. I would never, like, as I say, like, literally, like, send us the name, and if that's who they want us to fight, I will fight him. We'll see. But he's a fighter that was he 11-0 amateur, 13-0 pro. He's a fucking tank, you know what I mean? And I'll fight him if that's someone I would definitely fight, you know what I mean?
He's beaten some really, really good guys.
100% he has, mate. He's beat some really good people, but why not? Why would I not want to put myself in the mix with that, you know what I mean? Not the whatever, you know. Fucking who? We'll see. I was skitting there. You left us with a little circle thing coming on.
God almighty. I was getting the same thing. I was going, oh my gosh. This Instagram Live, it's good, but
it was like a Tinder
problems, you know?
picture. You had like a smoldering look in your eye and that.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, I'm trying to seduce all your fans who came over to my Instagram from it, you know?
The king.
Like Luca. Okay. So I'm going to leave you on this one. I want to ask about James Gallagher right now. How do you feel about him? Obviously, you didn't like him. Then you didn't really care that much. It was like a fight you had. Then you really liked him. And now, by New York time, when I last spoke to you, hated him. Couldn't dislike someone more. How do you feel about James Gallagher right now?
It is what it is, man. I'm sound, you know, I've got no shit with anyone. Like, he's just somebody who is in my way. You can see, as long as you don't offend me family or say anything about me family, I'm not really arsed. You can call me as much as you want, you know. Everyone, you can have your own opinions of me or think I'm this or say whatever you want about it. It doesn't really get under my skin. You're always going to get these people, you know what I mean? I get fucking, you should see the inboxes I get of some people day to day, you know what I mean? I'm not really asked about someone saying they're going to fucking try and strangle us or do whatever, you know. That's not bothering us, you know what I mean? As long as you don't say anything about me kids or me family or Hannah, I'm not really asked, you know. I didn't really give a shit. So I think with James, it is whatever, you know. He's just promoting the fight at the end of the day, and he's probably a sound guy behind closed doors, and it is what it is. I feel like
just someone call him a ball sack. Actually, Bellator seemed pretty cool with like MVP boxing, and I know they had Heather Hardy who was kind of going back and forth. Would you ever consider maybe doing a boxing match or something?
100%. If the money was good and the fight was good, 100%. It's I love it, you know what I mean? It's something I'll always love. I'll always have a massive passion for boxing. Always have, always will. And if someone wanted to fight me in a boxing fight and they were going to get us paid, then fucking why not?
You know started boxing, right? You didn't start with jiu-jitsu or wrestling, that you were a boxer.
No, unfortunately not. Like I would have loved to have started jiu-jitsu at a younger age, you know. Grappling's me. I love it. Like, it's literally all I want to do every day. I love wrestling, but grappling and jiu-jitsu, that's just something that I just feel like I love, you know. I love being there. And but now I started boxing from being 12 all the way through, getting called out on the commenting by Stu. But I made, so I mean, if I could fight a boxing fight, I'd love to. But what was your question? Sorry.
I think there's there's just like there's lots of different opportunities. I think because especially because of the way that MMA is and like you have to there's things are regimented and stuff like that. It'd be nice to kind of maybe do an MMA fight and then in that 3 months where they won't let you fight again, maybe do a boxing in there. So I don't know. It's
Do
just
too. I admit,
yeah.
I'd box every weekend if I could, mate. I love it. I love, you know what? I've got long arms and good straight shots, but for being a tall, rangy fighter, I love being in the pocket. You know what I mean? That's the way. That's the way I love to fight in. The way I'd love to box, hands tight in the pocket and have that kind of fight. You know, and that's what I enjoy. That's what I enjoy
How are
doing.
you coping? How are you coping with that football at the moment? I mean, because you're a big Sunderland fan, right? And I was watching the documentary, and the big deal was they didn't go up from League One, and I don't follow League One football, so I looked at the table, and it's not looking too good for you guys at the moment.
Mate,
And now, God knows.
it's one of them things, mate. It's like fucking, I don't know. It's mate, it's shocking. You like a lot of my friends are Newcastle supporters, a lot of them are Sunderland supporters, whatever. But it's if you look into Sunderland and see the kind of fan base we've got, it's crazy that we just get like shut on basically. Like if you look at Newcastle now, there's basically some fucking Arabs I think talking about buying them, and it's like 300 million or something. And why didn't we get that? You know, if they see the fan base we've got here, there's so much opportunity to have a good club and build something massive. And so that's what I feel like we need before. That's the only chance we've got, really.
Yeah.
Somebody coming in with a shitload of money.
Have you seen the show? Do you watch it?
Sunderland Till I Die.
Yeah.
I watched the first season, and then obviously I was buzzing for the second season, and then the email.
What were you going to be doing? Were you one of the fans that gets interviewed and they're all crying about how terrible Sunderland are all the time?
It was a weird setup. I was coaching at this gym at the time, and they came into the gym and they said, "Oh, we want to interview you." So I was like, "All right, cool," but they didn't just give us an interview, which would have been sound or whatever. They did an interview, but then got somebody to pad us who's not a pad man, and just mate, it was horrendous, mate. And I was fucking after I was like, but it was like it wasn't just the fact that it was like bad training or whatever, because I did loads of bag work for like an hour, like hard as well. I killed myself. Yeah. It wasn't the fact of that, it was the fact that when they started talking to him on the camera, and I was like, and then he's asking me questions, I was like, if they put this in, this is gonna kill me. Like this is the worst content ever. Me talking with this guy, and he didn't even know who one Sunderland player was, and he was talking, and he was like, doesn't even support Sunderland. I was like, this is a nightmare. So I was glad.
I'm imagining like a documentary, and it's you, and you're doing the Ariel Helwani, like barely tapping away at the pads, can't hit anything, and it's like he's scheduled to fight James Gallagher, and it shows him just fucking elbowing people's head. It's like this guy's gonna get killed by James Gallagher.
Like some absolute knacker.
Yeah, it's a good show, to be honest. I didn't really, I don't know. I feel like they really like they make it seem like the club is like all that matters in Sunderland. No one has anything else going on in their life. Like it's,
mate, you know,
people are like crying every day.
Mate, you'll come here and you'll see that's pretty much the case. Like people
my God.
People love Sunderland, and it's awesome. You know, I'm glad to be a part of that whole community. You know what I mean? I grew up there, been matches my whole life. You know what I mean? My mum and dad been avid Sunderland supporters forever. You know, they travelled all over, like watching Sunderland, and I'll always be a Sunderland supporter. But it's shit being a Sunderland fan at the minute.
Sure, yeah, especially now. Yeah, God Almighty.
For the last few years, it's been dire, but it just shows a lot about the people here, because obviously they're still supporting, no matter how shit we are. So just shows.
Well, they had that whole thing. You were in the playoffs, and your man had that big thing. It was like the highest attended League One game ever, or something.
Exactly.
Stadium of Light. No, I honestly, I think they should have put you in the show. I think it would have been funny. And you were at Wembley for that for the cup final thing last year.
At Wembley, I was there. I was there.
They were at Wembley twice that season, right?
I went to the first one, and then when they lost to Portsmouth the first one, I never went back for the second one. I couldn't remember. Maybe I was training after. There was some reason why I couldn't go to the next one. I can't remember. What was the date of the next one? Can you remember or not?
It was May. Well, it's the playoffs, right? So it'll be May. It'll have to be.
Tommy's birthday. My son was due to be born. That was the reason why I wasn't there. That was it. I was thinking what was the reason why I wasn't there, and I was like, shit. What were you saying, sorry, mate?
You think he's gonna fight?
Tommy? Jesse, my daughter will. She's crazy, man. But I think Tommy's really soft natured. He's like a gentle, just smiley boy. Doesn't make a noise. He's laughing all day. And Jesse is a million mile an hour. She attacks Tommy every day. She like headbutts me. She's absolutely off the wall, mental, and comes down with me boxing gloves on, stuff like that. And she's always saying stuff about fighting. So I think if anyone's gonna fight, it'll be her. I mean, I'd be terrified, but I would love to have her in the gym with us. You know what I mean? I'd love to kind of get her on the mat and doing some jits and stuff like that. Would be amazing. Like that's I hope that happens. Who's that?
Dion Palmer, a fan of yours.
Yeah, Dion, legend.
Do you know who that is, or is she like a female fan? I know you've got a lot of those.
I wish I haven't got lots. I mean, I don't know which one is probably watching this. I don't know which. I didn't say
that. All right. Well, look, I'm gonna let you go. If you've got any final message for anyone watching, or anything, you know, maybe a message of hope during these dark times where we're not allowed to leave our houses. I'm gonna let you go anyway because I know I've taken way too much of your time. Thank you so much.
No, mate, I love it, man. Anytime, mate. The only thing I would say is, yes, Dodgy lad, do your best to stay sound in this lockdown period. Get yourself a big bag of bud and chill out. That's the best advice, I reckon.
And before anyone goes, I do have to recommend. I would say probably not the best idea to go into a field and fight your mates. But you know, if you have a fight to prepare for, I guess it's okay. I don't know. But I would have to recommend against it because the police are out prowling.
Find the forest. The main thing with that is find people who are quarantined as well, and then you know you're sweet and they're sweet, and then you can just have a little do in the park and then bail.
That's a great idea. We'll leave on that. Thank you so much for your time, Cal.
Cheers, mate. Thank you, Donovan.
You're dodging this guy. Okay, see you.